Thanks very much. And Ed, you've probably had a little bit more time than you might have wanted between that Amosov loss and this fight, thanks to the pandemic. How frustrating was it kind of waiting to get back in and get back on the horse? And what did you take away from that last fight?
It wasn't frustrating at all. If anything, I felt I was happy with the time that I got just to kind of look over my thoughts, just to reflect on the match. I've just had so much time just to kind of like to take everything into the gym and just kind of work on myself.
And speaking of the gym, I mean, the world is a very different place since that last fight, obviously, with the pandemic, lockdown, social distancing. So how did that change or impact your training?
If anything, I think it helped it a lot more because I feel like I get more one-on-one time with my coaches. The gym's is always open. I feel like we've always had a problem of having too many people in the gym. And when you're moving around and you're sparring, you're always tripping and falling over somebody. If you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're always invading somebody else's space, and the next thing you know, you're on top of another two guys. And I felt like now it's more focused on the people that you want in the gym, and you're just getting everything that you need.
Connor?
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
So how you doing?
Oh, hey, how's it going? Sorry, I was like, I thought it was a question followed with that.
No, all good. I thought my mic wasn't working. But, for you, I know you have been on the card with, Davis before, also a former Penn State wrestler. And, now Bo Nichols kind of stealing a lot of headlines now, too. He's making that jump. I know a former teammate of yours, Jimmy Lawson. Also, I think he's 2-1 now, too. What is it about that program, that Ninny Line program that, makes all the guys make that jump to the net?
Just some of those guys, they just have it. They have that it factor. They know that they can go out there and they can punch somebody in the face. And a lot of the guys on the Penn State team, they're just animals, man. They're go-getters. They're hard workers, and they understand that. And they know that they bring that work ethic over into MMA. They know that the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm. And, Taylor Johnson's a guy who, he's kind of a knockout artist, but you obviously, have that wrestling pedigree too. With this matchup, do you feel like this is kind of in your wheelhouse?
Definitely. We're both knockout artists, which is cool. And the fact that we both wrestle, that's awesome. But I've been doing the sport a little bit longer than he has, and I feel like I'll get him on the experience factor.
All right. Thanks, Ed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Gareth, are you there? Let's try that again.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can now. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Ed, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Very good indeed. How has lockdown been for you?
It's been very isolating, but other than that, it's been good. I can't really complain. All I've been doing is just trying to keep my mind busy.
And, a lot of us have learned things about ourselves in lockdown, kind of maybe deeper things. Have you, obviously, because everyone's had to have that pause that's been kind of pressed upon us. Are there things that have occurred to you, about your life during the last 6 months?
Oh man, it's just I've taken up the guitar. I felt
really?
like, yeah, I was like, wow, I spent so much time just sitting around, just not really doing anything, not really trying to build a skill. And somehow I settled on the guitar. I heard somebody playing the guitar one day, and I just picked it up and started doing it. And it made me realize, I was like, wow, I'm more of a creative person than I thought. And I kind of started to look at my life in a little bit more creative ways.
And, how good have you got? Or what are you in front of people yet? Will you play the guitar after victories? Are you there yet?
I could play probably just like a solid 4 beats, but other than that, no, I'm not too good yet. I just started, so I'm about 2 months deep. I'm just learning the fretboard and everything, and learning my pentatonic scales and everything. So we're just taking it from there.
Is it something you're going to stay with, though?
Oh, of course, of course. I love learning new things. Whenever I get latched onto something, it's hard for me to pull myself away. You know, that was kind of what kind of brought me into MMA. I started doing MMA, and I just couldn't pull myself away from it. I was like, wow, there's jiu-jitsu. Wow, there's Muay Thai. Wow, there's boxing. There's kickboxing. There's judo, and all this stuff is useful in the fight.
So music is like the development of another side of yourself, but I suppose we could say MMA is very creative as well, you know, but physically, you know.
Oh yeah, I see it both as the same thing. You know, I feel like the more creatively you put everything together, the same thing with music. The more creatively you put these notes together, you bend this note, you you cleanly pick the strings. It's the same thing with MMA. You know, if I cleanly throw my jabs or my sprawls, or if I'm doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu, I'm paying attention to my fundamentals, everything goes a lot smoother, a lot easier.
We'll go on to Steve.
All right, Ed, thank you for the time as always. And my question to start off was, you know, it seems like Bellator has always invested in you from day one. I've told you before about how they promoted your blue chip athletic prospects coming in. And it seems like you get on a roll and then the setback, like with Neiman Gracie or Yaroslav Amosov. How frustrating is that for you, knowing that there are such high expectations, but sometimes these things don't go your way?
It just makes you kind of just come to terms with it. You know, it's reality. That's how it is. We make these plans, and you know, the plans, they go awry. And as much as we all want to live in a perfect world and we all speculate about our futures, you know, we got to understand that there are going to be setbacks. And it's the same thing with even when you're trying to build a business. You know, you think you're doing good, everything's going great. Next thing, a storm comes in and then it's flooding all your merchandise. You can't really prepare for those things.
Has that also been sort of a life lesson then with this pandemic, that these things are out of your control, and just like the outcome of a fight, sometimes it's not going to go your way and you just have to roll with it?
Yeah. And at that point, you just got to tell yourself, you know, this is just a journey. And I just got to enjoy my journey. I can't always be happy or sad about the results. I just got to just live in the moment and just kind of chase after these experiences.
All right.
And be grateful for that.
The last one for me before I let you go is, you talked about how the training has changed in the gym, how there's less people there now, but is it good or bad for some of your teammates that they also have to go through this experience and they wonder, you know, when am I going to get to fight? You know, you're getting this opportunity here on Friday, but a lot of them have been waiting a long time for a fight too.
Yeah, I mean, like, it sucks, but you know, I've waited a long time for this opportunity as well. And, you know, but the only thing I could say that a lot of guys in our gym seem to do really well with kind of putting enough time into MMA, but also keeping other jobs on the side so they can keep money coming in.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll be making some big money on Friday. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Connor?
She's still there?
I already asked my questions. Thank you.
Sorry. We'll go to Zach.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for the time today.
No problem.
So the first question I want to ask is, after the first loss to Neiman Gracie, you did go on a very good 2-fight winning streak. And that shows that you learn from your losses, as all fighters do. So I want to ask, what things do you think were the best takeaways from the Amosov loss?
From the Amosov loss, I was like, I learned that there's wrestling that's applicable to MMA and there's wrestling that doesn't work at all, especially when you start changing like minor factors. With MMA, I mean, like with wrestling, I always had shoes, socks, you know, there was a whole singlet that you would wear. And when I go out there and I'm fighting, you know, I realize that you could slip a lot more if you you can't really go for an ankle pick. A lot of your moves from wrestling is kind of eliminated from MMA just from how you stand up, just from the stand up alone. And I've learned that, you know, there's more to being a complete fighter than just being good at, you know, just being good at your disciplines. You know, it's like, it's being good at putting the discipline together and like knowing when to not do something and when to do something.
That makes a lot of sense. So I would assume in your training camp, are you working more of your striking more than your wrestling? Because you already know you have that wrestling down.
I honestly, I've been working a lot more on wrestling because I wanted to tie my striking and my wrestling together better. And I felt like in my earlier fights, I haven't been doing that just because when you go out there and like nobody knows how nervous a guy is, you don't even know how nervous you are yourself. And I realized that if I want to do this out the cage, I got to start doing it at practice. So when I was in practice, I was trying to focus more on using my strikes to get to my wrestling rather than just relying solely on wrestling or solely on striking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And last question I have, you coming from obviously your very accomplished wrestling background, those type of fighters seem to transition very, very well into MMA because of sort of the crossovers in between the two sports. So what do you say about your time in wrestling has made it a bit easier for you to cross over into MMA, like compared to other fighters, of course?
How has it made it easier?
Yes.
Definitely just because the whole world of MMA is very similar to wrestling. Just from like the weight cutting, the grind, it just brings a brotherhood, just a camaraderie around with you and your teammates, just because it's such a hard sport to do. And so is wrestling. Wrestling is just, you're with somebody. It's just you and another person testing your physical abilities against another person. You're imposing your will against this other person. It's that other person that determines whether you win or not. And I don't know if people really get how crazy that is. It's like you and someone else, and you both have expectations. You both have goals. You both have, and you're challenging each other in this cage, or you're challenging each other on the mat. And I feel like with wrestling and MMA, like everything is just so personal. It's so singular, it's like it's just me and it's just that guy, on a team, any other team or any other sport or organization. It's just like you have a lot of people you rely on, but with MMA and wrestling, it's just yourself. And I feel like wrestling has prepared me so well for MMA because it's like it got me to rely mostly on myself, to think about myself, to get used to pushing myself, to get used to my own grinds, to make me cut my weight myself.
Go to Jay.
Hey, you know what? I'll ask a follow-up question, actually. I mean, there's been a lot going on in the world in the last little while, and I'm just wondering if you wanted to give your take on, the civil unrest in the States and everything that's been going on there.
Wow, man. I can't say I enjoy it. It's just everything is just such a crazy time. It's like I'm walking down the sidewalk and people are walking in the street, so they're not walking on the sidewalk next to you, or some people cross the street. It's like, honestly, I really don't know what to say about it. I'm just hoping that the quarantine and everything ends soon. Hopefully that there's a breakthrough or there's just a drop off, or the pandemic, the virus dies. I'm just looking forward to that. But I'm trying to stay optimistic.
All right, let's go to Kevin.
Hey, Ed, one of the big questions I wanted to ask you was, being slotted into the main event, how did you handle that? And also, you were one of the last cards that Bellator had that had a live audience. So, going into this fight, how does it feel going from a main event slot to being in the main card, but not in the main event?
Doesn't really bother me. Every time I step in the cage, it's still the same thing. I step in the cage, there's another guy across from there, and I have to beat him, and I always just attacked it the same way, whether I was prelims, main card, or just on the main card. I was just like, I just got to go in there, stick to the same game plan, just keep getting better. Eventually, I find myself back in that main spot again.
Are you looking to highlight a finish in this fight, or, do you want to go the distance and try to show everybody, hey, I can wrestle, stand up, jiu-jitsu, everything's in my repertoire?
Well, I've discovered, over in my experience with MMA, that it's better to end everything very early. But yeah, I do want to take it the distance. I do want everybody to see, everything that I've been working on. But if early stoppage is where it's at, I definitely want that early stoppage.
One another thing is, Amosov fought recently in one of the past cards, and he's climbing up. Do you see yourself with the win and a couple of other wins rematching yourself with him?
I do, but it depends on where which weight class we would do it at. I'm not sure if I feel too comfortable challenging him again down at 170 because I feel like I'm losing a lot of my power, a lot of my strength that I usually rely on when I'm practicing. So I think that maybe if he moves up or we find a catch weight, I definitely want to fight him again.
All right, Ed. Thank you so much, and hope you have an easy fight. All right.
Thanks. Me too.
All right. Thank you very much, Ed. We are all done, and we'll. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's take one more from Trevor Minden.
Shoot. I'm ready.
Hey, recently, Daniel Cormier, he talked about how his camp, it kind of was diminished with COVID, whether it was training partners or other factors. How do you feel this camp has been for this upcoming fight? Do you feel that COVID or, what's going on in the world has affected it at all, or do you feel at 100%?
I've gotten more reflection, more attention this camp. And that's what makes me feel way more comfortable going into this fight next time. Because I feel like a lot more that there was so much less people inside the gym because, they just couldn't be in there that, that my coaches had to focus solely on me or they were focused on someone else. But it was only like, just 5 other guys, but they can come right back to me.
Yeah. Another question I had, being so accomplished in wrestling, I heard Luke Thomas say the other day, like you're one of the greatest college wrestlers and all that you have accomplished. How do you take that into MMA? Do you after accomplishing so much in one sport, how do you keep the same level of motivation, for a future title in MMA?
This might be a weird answer, but honestly, it's curiosity. I was like, if I can do this in one sport, I was like, can I do this in another sport? Is the same underlying factors the same thing that will make me a champion in this sport that has made me a champion in wrestling? And I found it that is my curiosity is so hungry that I can't really turn it off. And then I find myself training harder, just doing anything that I can to get better. And it's like every time I feed my curiosity and my knowledge grows, then it's just like, I just feel so grateful for it that I just continue the process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.